Hello and welcome to the Star Wars Shatterpoint Stats Center Meta Watch Quarter 1 review for 2026. This is my first look back over the data from the last 3 months. So building upon what we've been looking at over the weekly Stats Center and then the monthly Meta Watch, we are now going to take a look at the quarter 1, so 3 months, January, February and March combined, and see what the stats are telling us in Shatterpoint. So let's begin by looking at the number of games and events. So the data that I'm going to be looking at is only ranked events, and they are only in-person events as well. So no unrated events, because that removes most of the league data. And then only in-person events, because we don't want to have the virtual events featured for reasons I've explained in other videos. So if we look at the number of events, we're going to be looking at data from 114 events. These break down as 109 were tournaments, with 5 people deciding to rate their leagues, which is a little bit of a shame in my opinion. But yeah, so we're going to be having a really good amount of data. 1,879 games played. Which is great as well. And yeah, we're going to just have a look at some of the winners and also the losers. And here we have the primary unit rankings. And so the first positive to say is that whilst we do have a chunk of units, so the top 8 units are slightly higher percentage than we would want for a nicely balanced game, being 55% to 45% win rate is the sweet spot. So we've only got 8 that are higher, and we also know that a couple of these are being tweaked in the upcoming balance patch or the unit card upgrade in May as well. So let's have a little look down the list at all our primaries and their respective win rates. So, number 1 for quarter 1 of 2026 is Kanan, coming in with 213 games with a 62% win rate. So, nice, strong win rate there. Kanan during the early Cassian days, Kanan was strong, and then as we moved into the boss meta as well, Kanan featured quite a lot. But obviously, Kanan was also super strong before we saw Cassian, before we saw boss, as we were trying to deal with the Iden meta. So Kanan, yeah, just a really strong unit overall there. Then we get our 2 big concerns in the meta at the moment. Those of you who watch the weekly stat show and the monthly meta watch as well will have no surprises here. Cassian coming in with a huge 659 games played and that's competitive ranked games played between January and March 2026 with a 61% win rate. So that's, I mean, it's 399 wins. That is absolutely staggering. Then up next, just behind him, is Boss, 611 games played, 363 wins, and a 59% win rate. Then in 4th, we have Princess Leia. She's often paired with Cassian, and she is also a very strong unit, has been since release. 273 games to work from with a 58% win rate. Then Kiadi Mundi rounds out the top kind of 5, although really there is other win percentages in same win percentage in 6, which with 294 games, so slightly more play than Princess Leia, and ahead of Kanan as well, coming in with a 58% win rate. Then as we move down into our next section, so 6th, we have Han Solo, 144 games, so a little less to work with, and again a 58% win rate. Then Luminara, who saw a little boost with Adepticon, with that boss pairing coming good. And I would imagine that a lot of this data has been influenced by that great showing that Luminara had out at Adepticon. 149 games, 57% win rate. And then the last one that we're talking about here, with the just ahead of where we want to be in the bell curve, with 56% win rate, is Hunter, pairing with Boss a lot, as we know through the weekly stats and the monthly meta watch, with 391 games to bring that 56% win rate there. Then moving into the kind of sweet spot area, although we do see a drop-off in games with some of these units, we've got Count Dooku, 102 games played, 55% win rate, and then Jedi Knight Luke Skywalker with 66 games, so quite a small sample size, really. If we go back up to Cassian, we're talking about a tenth of the games have been played with Luke by comparison to Cassian. So Luke coming in with a 55% win rate there. We are expecting to see maybe a little boost in Luke because of the new mission that's been dropped. The strategic positions mission seems to favour Luke, with his bubble being in the middle of the table there. And then as we move further down, we get Jin coming in with 53% win rate, 182 games, so a decent amount, nearly 200 games played there. And Ahsoka Tano Jedi No More, 106 games with a 52% win rate. Then The Mandalorian, as I had predicted in my March meta analysis, I thought The Mandalorian would do all right. He's got 426 games played, so really quite a large set of games to draw upon there. Probably because he is a very popular character, and the miniature is absolutely stunning for Mando as well. So we must take these into consideration with why people are playing him. Not only is he a good unit as well. So yeah, 426 games played and a very solid 52% win rate. Obi-Wan Kenobi comes in next, 441 games with a 50% win rate. Mace Windu, 209 games with also a 50% win rate. And finally, in the 50%, we have Hondo coming in there, rounding us out. Only 41 games, so very small sample size there, but again, hitting that 50%. But now, as we move into the next section, so there are currently 42 primaries that have been released in the game, and so half of 42, obviously 21, so unfortunately we are not going to see half the primary units hitting the 50% win rate, which is a shame, and as we go down as well, we're actually not even going to see 50% of them hitting that 45% win rate bottom of the bell curve that we would like to see. So there are some concerns here at the moment in the meta. So Asajj Ventress comes in at 17th on win percentage, 49% win rate, 79 games. A little resurgence with some Separatist players bringing Asajj, but not too many games still to draw upon. Then Riff Tampson coming in with 237 games with a 48% win rate. We know that Riff and Mando have had quite a lot of love together in list building recently, so that's really nice to see. Lando Calrissian comes in with 47% win rate with only 49 games, so small sample set. And General Veers, you know I'm a fan, 43 games with a 47% win rate there. And then, as I alluded to just now, the rest of the units, unfortunately, fall under that 45% win rate slot that we would hope for. So, Mother Talzin comes in at 21st place with a 44% win rate with 107 games. Leia Organa Freedom Fighter, so the other Leia primary, coming in with 128 games and a 44% win rate. Darth Vader Jedi Hunter, we know he's pairing with a lot of Galactic Republic, which is pulling up his win rate. 231 games, 44% win rate. The Grand Inquisitor, 198 games, 44% win rate. And then Cad Bane, 165 games, 44% win rate. So a lot of those units just on the cusp of kind of being where we'd like them. But do remember, as we spoke about in the March meta video, Darth Vader probably would be a lot further down if he was relying only on his Galactic Empire counterparts to pair with. Then, as we move further down, we've got the Armourer coming in with 253 games. We know the Armourer likes to be paired with Mando, probably with a bit of a thematic there and thinking, oh, Mandalorians, they are stronger together, but not quite in the case of Mando and Armourer, as we've seen through the months of data. 43% win rate there for the Armourer. Ahsoka Tano Fulcrum, she was at the bottom of the list in March, 47 games, but she's overall through this quarter managed a 43% win rate, along with Anakin Skywalker then coming in 240 games, 43% win rate. Then Padme, we saw a little uplift in Padme's games with Adepticon, 57 games, so not, still rather small sample size, but a 42% win rate there. And then we have Thrawn coming in, 71 games, 40% win rate. So now we're starting to drop down. 40% and lower is starting to be a bit like, oh, I really hope these units feature in that balance pass coming soon in May. Moff Gideon, interestingly, 198 games, 40% win rate. Kit Fisto, we know that he's going to be looked at in the balance update with 71 games and only a 39% win rate. Iden Versio getting a lot more play, 177 games, but still only a 39% win rate. And Grievous as well, the Separatist leader there, 129 games and only 39% win rate. Hera comes in with 65 games, so small sample size, 38%, along with Plo Koon. Now his win percentage has been pulled up drastically following the Adepticon results there, with 53 games, 38% win rate. So really Plo Koon, if he hadn't had the great Adepticon run, would probably be sitting a lot lower. Then we've got CT coming in, only 40 games for CT being played with 38% win rate, and Lord Maul 128 games, so seeing the table, was there in the core box, so he is featuring on the table a reasonable amount, but still only managing that 38% win rate. Then we've got Chirpa and Logray, the two Ewoks side by side. Chirpa with only 27 games played, the poor little Ewok, barely seeing the table throughout the first 3 months, but he has got the 37% win rate, putting him just ahead of Logray with 68 games and 36%. Then down at the bottom of the list, right there at the end, we have Darth Vader, the Emperor's servant, the other Darth Vader there, with 32% win rate off 115 games, and Krennic, 129 games played with just a 30% win rate. So what can we take away from looking at these win percentages? Well, obviously, I don't need to tell you guys watching this video, unless you are living somewhere in a nice bubble where no one plays Cassian or Boss, but it is very clear that Cassian and Boss have dominated the games played, and they are sat up there hovering around a 60% win rate, both of them. So yeah, that is big and scary there. But I think the two big takeaways that I'm seeing here right now are, first of all, who is being paired with who. So let's have a look. So in our top 8 lists, our big percentage winners here, we've got Kanan, who pairs well with Cassian, Leia, who pairs well with Cassian, General Han Solo, who pairs well with Cassian, and then we've got Boss, and Boss pairs well with Luminara, as we've seen from Adepticon, and Boss pairs very well with Hunter. The interesting one to slot in here is Ki-Adi-Mundi. Now, Ki-Adi, although I've seen some lists with Ki-Adi Boss, he's not really featuring there, and I'm wondering if it is Ki-Adi himself getting the win rate, boosting the units like Anakin Skywalker, maybe Obi-Wan, maybe Mace Windu, so lifting those units that pair well with Ki-Adi-Mundi into wins. Vader, of course, a Jedi Hunter. So maybe those wins are coming from that pairing with Kiadi, and Kiadi is actually the kind of glue that's holding everything together. So yes, for those of you who thought that who would be the strongest Jedi really in the Star Wars universe, probably didn't have their money on it being Kiadi Mundi. The other big takeaway that I can see, and it is a little bit sad here, is if we keep scrolling down and we scroll and we scroll, our first Galactic Empire primary, well, technically it's Lando Calrissian because you can make him Galactic Empire, but really our first Galactic Empire primary to feature is General Veers on a 47% win rate. And then as we go down, Darth Vader, Jedi Hunter, that 44% win rate there. But as we've alluded to already, it's that pairing with Kiadi Mundi that's lifting him in his win rate. And I think that if he was only pairing with Galactic Empire, we wouldn't see the success there. So then we've got Grand Inquisitor coming in at 44%. But then we're scrolling again. We're going even further down, and it's Thrawn at 40%. Moff Gideon at 40%. Iden dominating the meta back when as I said earlier, when it was Iden and Kanan, you had to take Iden Versio's box if you wanted to be competitive in the meta, and now she's fallen down to a 39% win rate. Now, is that because we're not seeing the better players playing Iden, potentially, because they're looking at the boss and the Cassian lists, or is it because the meta has shifted and lifted up there and she's just not performing against those killer lists? There's now a bigger shark in the tank. It's probably a combination of all of it there. Then CT coming in at 38%, but very few games played. And then really, really sad to see Vader and Krennic at the bottom here on 32% and 30% win rate there. I'm really hopeful that in the May balance update that we do see the Galactic Empire get a good uplift, and hopefully we see them start to take a bit more control of the galaxy in Star Wars Shatterpoint. But coming back to another positive now, I think The Mandalorian has done an exceptional job of hitting pretty much the center of the sweet spot of the bell curve. It might be that Mando is pretty much the perfect unit. He's got a bit of revenge, he's got a bit of an attack, and he's got a multitude of good pairings in this meta right now. And it's really great to see that Mando has kind of found his niche. He was kind of wavering on and off during the months where I've been looking back over the data in the Meta Watch. So yeah, I'm really happy to see Mando hitting that 52% win rate, particularly as he is a fan favourite. The Mandalorian and Grogu film is coming out. The Mandalorian television series are absolutely brilliant Star Wars. And so, yeah, it's great to see Mando kind of hitting that near perfect sweet spot in the meta at the moment. So, yeah, hopefully Mando will continue to stay in that as we move into a balanced update coming in the middle of quarter 2, hopefully. But another fan favourite, though, of course, is Cassian Andor. So, Andor, big love for Andor, for the television series Andor. Both seasons there, doing exceptionally well in terms of viewing figures on Disney Plus. But Cassian himself, he really does need that little nerf, doesn't he? 659 games played, and he is sat there second on the rankings, only by a percentage point or so. And yeah, he's absolutely dominated there. So yeah, it will be really interesting to see what happens to Cassian. Right, let's have a little bit of a dive now into some of these units and see what they've been pairing with. So I've decided to start at the bottom of the list with this first look at one of the primaries, and I'm going with Krennic. So let's see how Krennic's getting on. So obviously he's had the 129 rated games. He's got a slight, it's only a slight win rate favoritism on going first, but with more games when he's gone second and a lot more losses, it does seem that you do want to get Krennic in there. And going first if you're to stand a chance there. So important that you win the roll-off with Krennic. And let's have a look at who he's been paired with. So we've got some pairings with Thrawn. That's quite a low number there. Higher pairings, though, with Moff Gideon, so 37% win rate with Moff Gideon. Grand Inquisitor, 23 games for a 30% win rate there. Sadly, Emperor's Servant Vader, who he is only just behind in the meta rankings this quarter, 27 games and only a 19% win rate. Gosh, it's not looking good, is it? And it's really the Galactic Empires that he is being paired with. There's an experiment there with Lando in one game that didn't work, an experiment with Luke in one game that didn't work, and an experiment with Maul in one game that hasn't appeared to work either. So yes, it very much seems like even experimenting with Cad Bane can't pull it up. It just looks like Galactic Empire are in a bit of a sad place at the moment. And that thought process is confirmed when we look at Vader. Slight advantage when you go first with Vader in terms of win rate, and we did see that as well with Krennic. So maybe it is that the Galactic Empire just need to win the roll off to really get their foot on the gas early. But yes, this 32% win rate. Let's see who he's being paired with. So we see Lando pairing again, a little bit more success with Lando there. A bit of a pairing with Grand Inquisitor, but here is the big one. It's the 48 games out of that. So nearly half the games that Vader has played over the last 3 months have been with Iden Versio. And as we touched on in that little look down the rankings there in terms of win percentage, Iden struggling during this current meta. She's not able to compete against Boss and Cassian lists as effectively, it seems, and she's just not getting the games played. So it's very clear. As with Krennic, the issue seems to be with all of Galactic Empire. But what is very interesting, if we look at Darth Vader as well here, is who is playing him. So we have the rating of players here on the right-hand side of the screen, if I get my mouse to appear, and then the number of games that are being played, and there's the win rate featuring here as well on the left-hand side, and the number of games played. And so what we can see from this is that there is the players that are maybe slightly lower ranked, shall we say. I'm not saying that being ranked 400 on Longshanks is low, but it is on the lower end of the scale as you're building your ranking. The win rate goes up exponentially if you are a higher rated player on Longshanks. So that would probably lean into being a more experienced Shatterpoint player. But also the number of games does kind of go, it peters off a little bit here. So these higher players on this side with the higher ratings are winning more, but playing not playing too many games. So that is interesting to see that the ceiling for Darth Vader it seems to be quite a high skill ceiling if you want to get the wins. And that would also fit in with, as I kind of alluded to with The Mandalorian, Vader is obviously one of the most recognizable characters in Star Wars. Whether you are playing Shatterpoint or not, whether you're a huge Star Wars fan or not, you probably could walk down the street anywhere in the world, or nearly anywhere in the world, and say, do you know who this is? And they would probably make the breathing sounds and say, yes, that's Darth Vader. So it's no wonder that maybe newer players are picking him up, but the win percentage only skyrockets when you get to the top end of the Shatterpoint rankings. And thinking about top end of Shatterpoint rankings, let's have a look at Plo Koon, who features as the big standout at Adepticon 2026. So Plo Koon with a 38% win rate. Favoured quite reasonably more if you win the roll-off and go first. So that is interesting data there. So winning the roll-off gives you a better chance with Plo Koon. Then as we scroll down, we can see who he is being paired with. So we've got pairings, most pairings are with Ki-Adi-Mundi. And as we said earlier, Ki-Adi-Mundi very highly ranked in the top 5 on win percentage for quarter 1 of 2026. And so it is not surprising to see Plo Koon's win percentage being the best when he is paired with Ki-Adi-Mundi. With Obi-Wan, the next most played primary unit, that drops right down. It nearly halves the win rate when played with Obi-Wan. So really, Ki-Adi-Mundi and Plo Koon are working well when they are paired together. But yet again, how much of this is the skill cap and the skill ceiling of the player involved? Look at the win rate shoot up when we have top rated players, and we're talking 500 to 600 and 600 to 700 rated players playing Plo Koon. That win rate just goes right up. So yes, possibly you need to be very familiar with the game of Shatterpoint if you are wanting to get wins with Plo Koon. So maybe not the unit you turn to first when you start the game, unless of course he is your favourite character. The next unit I wanted to have a little look at is Anakin Skywalker. So Anakin is in an interesting place. He was given what was appearing to be quite a decent buff in the May balance patch from the 2025 season, but then he's kind of dropped off a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see how he's getting on and who he's being paired with. So 47% win rate if you go first, as opposed to the 38% win rate if you go second. So big advantage there if you are going first there. So that's interesting. And then if we scroll down here, so we've got some experimentational things. We've got Cad Bane, we've got Maul, a little experiment with Maul, Asajj, and Mother Talzin all having little experiments to varying degrees of success. But the big ones are his pairing with Ki-Adi-Mundi, coming in at 62 games with, again, a 56% win rate. So very similar to Plo Koon win rate when paired with Ki-Adi-Mundi, and it does seem that Ki-Adi-Mundi really is the key to unlocking all these Jedi. Then as we move down, we've got some various lower numbers of games, but the next big number here is the most games that Anakin has been paired with is with Obi-Wan, and he's only getting a 33% win rate across 76 games. So very clear that Obi and Annie are just not seeing eye to eye. There must be a joke about the high ground in there somewhere. And if we look here, we see that Anakin is, he's getting quite a lot of games in this kind of mid to high kind of portion here. But the win rate, again, it does go up exponentially when brought with a strong player. Bringing Anakin seems to get the best from him again. Onto the Armourer now. So 43% win rate, pretty much balanced whether you're going first or second. And let's look at the pairings. So there are actually quite a few pairings with the Armourer here. But the massive standout is with Mando. 182 games. The next closest is 31 with Darth Maul there, because you can obviously run a few Mandalorians with Maul, and that means that the Armourer does help that boost that synergy there. So she does have a better win rate and percentage win rate of 55 with Maul, but the most games are with Mando. And as I said earlier, it's a little bit sad that unfortunately Mando and Armourer don't synergize quite as well together as they possibly should do on paper, with a 41% win rate. And it does seem as well that the number of games and the strength of the player does impact this, because there is a decline and then a steep climb up the stronger your rating. Onto Vader Jedi Hunter now. 44% win rate, perfectly balanced whether you go first or second. And if we scroll down, let's just see whether this confirms our thinking. So, okay, we got one win with Veers there, a win with Padme. Boss coming in with 64% win rate. Ki-Adi-Mundi coming in there with a 52% win rate. Mace coming in with a 50% win rate, and then it's Iden 49, and then as we make our way through, we do have some pairings with other Galactic Republic characters, but yes, if we scroll down and just see all the various pairings, yeah, it is pretty obvious that the two primaries that you want to be pairing Vader with are both from Galactic Republic, and they are Ki-Adi-Mundi and Boss. For those of you who watch the March Meta watch video, you'll know why I'm looking at Via's. Hashtag Via's Redemption Arc 2026. So, 53% win rate if he goes first, but 42 if he goes second. Slightly more data there. So, yeah, favouring first, it seems quite substantially. Then as we scroll down, we can see the pairings. The most numbers of pairings that he's had games with is with Krennic, pulling Krennic up to that 44% win rate there. Not doing particularly well with one Vader, but in the one game that he paired with the Jedi Hunter, he got the win. So yeah, hey. But yeah, not too much data to pull on, but always worth having a little look at Via's, I think. I suspect that we will be seeing a lot more of him come May balance. Now we're kind of getting a little bit more to the business end of things, so let's have a look at the Mandalorian. So, favoured when going second in about the same number of games, just a slight favour if you go second. And let's have a look at these pairings. So we can see Cassian coming in with the 70% win rate when you pair Mando with him there. 68 games, big data set to pull from there. 42 games with Riff and a 67% win rate, so very good there. The most games, as we touched on earlier, played with Armourer, 182, only 41% win rate. But if we look here, we are seeing some kind of revenge triggering pairing going on. So yes, Maul's got a revenge, Mother Talzin's got the revenge, Riff does kind of get to move around the board a lot, Hondo's got a little bit of a revenge thing, Ahsoka Tano, Jedi No More, Cassian obviously, and Leia up at the top, paired 7 times with Mando, and a pretty much 100% win rate there. It should be 100% win rate there. So yeah, Mando doing well when paired with another unit that has a revenge trigger. And a bit more of a gentle incline up across the win rate, depending on the player rating, with a reasonably steady number of games played, dropping off though when you get to the higher end of the rankings. Let's show the Separatists some love and have a look at Count Dooku. So just over 100 games played. Slight favour when going first. Could be that he's paired with droids under him. So, you know, he's got droids under him. So that means that a bit like Boss, if you get the right pull, one of your, you know, your Kraken or your Kalani, get the droids moving up the board, particularly on Sabotage Showdown or shifting priorities, the Separatists can do quite well there. And let's have a look at who he's being paired with. So few experimental games here. You know, some pairing, even a boss and Dooku list there, going and having a go. But Asajj seems to be a big winner here. 72% when paired with Dooku out of the 25 games. Riff doing very well, 31 games, 61% win rate. But unfortunately, Grievous not doing as well, 39% win rate when paired with Dooku across 31 games. I really hope that we see a little boost to Grievous in the May balance. We've been talking about him a lot. Let's have a look at the best Jedi in the game, Ki-Adi-Mundi. 58% win rate, a staggering 62% win rate if you go first. So you're going to be in a chance of winning 2 out of your, two out of 3 chances to win the game if you go first. That's very impressive. So yeah, but not too far ahead of the going second anyway. So let's have a look down here, and here we can see, are we right? Does Ki-Adi-Mundi lift these Jedi up and oh boy, he does. So we get an 83% win rate with Ahsoka Tano Jedi No More. We get a 66% win rate with Obi-Wan. We get a 59% win rate with Vader, 58 with Mace Windu, 56 with Anakin, 56 with Kit Fisto, who is languishing down towards the bottom of the win rate percentage rankings. 52% with Plo Koon, 50% with Luminara. So look at that. All that Jedi synergy right there in the top section of the win rates with the allied primary units. So Ki-Adi-Mundi really doing the work and making those Jedi sing. And very interesting here on the win rate, Ki-Adi-Mundi seems to be quite beginner friendly before dropping down and then lifting up again to getting the high win rates with the top rated players. And the final unit I am going to deep dive with the data is going to be our number one, Kanan. So Kanan with a 62% win rate. He's got a lot more games where he went second and a decent win rate when he goes second, but still 56% when you go first. So not really too bad, but it is a kind of seems to be a trend with some of the revenge lists where if you get to respond to what the opponent has done, that does give you a bit of an advantage there. So let's scroll down. And here are the pairings. Look at that, 132 games with Cassian and a 70% win rate. And even with Hera, 42 games, a 45% win rate. So still in our nice bell curve there. So the Spectre squad, maybe not top of the meta, but still doing okay. And then, yeah, just a splattering, a handful of games with others. Leia, though, the double revenge coming clutch again, as we've said before with some of the other units like Mando. Double revenge does work very well. 13 games, 69% win rate. Looking at the priority roll and what that gives you. If you win the priority roll, there is a 52% chance that you will win if you played in January to March 2026, but only 48% if you go second. So very, very close. So still, as we've seen across the various months, it is not too impactful whether you're going first or second, although it does seem to be the way with some of the units that we have looked at today. Touching briefly on the SPT coded lists, where we can see with 615 lists submitted, we can see our top most picked units. And at the top, we have Baze and Chirrut, 230 picks out of 615. Rebel Commandos coming in at 206, along with Cassian at 206. Seven Scorch, 194. Fixer 179, and then Captain Rex just squeezes ahead of Boss with 175 and Boss on 174. Now obviously we don't have the full data for every single list, but as we said in the March Meta Watch, really it is pretty obvious where the troublesome units are lying in the game right now. And just to round out the video, a really quick look at all the mission packs. So Sabotage Showdown, the most popular mission through the month, through the 3 months. And we can see Leia is up at the top, 66% chance of winning. Cassian's in there as well, 62%, along with Lando for some reason. He favours the Sabotage Showdown. Han Solo's in there, Ki-Adi's in there, Kanan's in there, Luminara's in there, and Hunter and Boss are also in there as well. So yeah, very, very clear that the top performing units do enjoy Sabotage Showdown. Shifting Priorities, the next most popular mission played, and right there, glaringly obvious, sitting in 5th place with a 61% win rate is Boss. Boss absolutely loves Shifting Priorities, but so it seems does Ki-Adi-Mundi. Kanan's doing fine with it. Dooku's doing very well on shifting as opposed to other missions. Hunter there doing well as well, 56% win rate, but that's probably because he is paired with Boss. Never Tell Me the Odds is the next most popular, but only just. I would not be surprised at all if Strategic Positions takes second spot by the end of Q2, if not challenging for first place. So on Never Tell Me the Odds, some less games played. Cassian doing well, 64% win rate out of the 126 games that were played there. Boss still doing well, strong units rise to the top anyway. Mando featuring with a 60% win rate out of 64 games. But yes, it seems Hondo does like Never Tell Me the Odds, along with Jin, Kanan, Lumi, and Asajj. And here's the new one, Strategic Positions. And so there is not too much data on this. Boss coming in with 88 games, though, 61% win rate. So that's interesting to see there. We'll be curious to see how Boss performs on this mission in April, leading into the balance update in May. So the April Meta Watch is probably where we're going to see the most Boss data with this mission, I would imagine. Unless people choose to bench Boss and try new things before the balance update comes through. Cassian just a little bit further down here with 105 games and a 58% win rate. But it just seems to be a jumble of primaries here, which is really good for the health of the game, that there is no one really leaping out to the top of, we don't have a Boss and Cassian sat up here on the new mission at a huge high win rate percentage, but we've got a really good mix, an eclectic mix of primary units being played on the new mission. And finally, the least played, but arguably one of the most fun in its own right, First Contact. So CT topping the charts, one game on First Contact and an 100% win rate. That is the big takeaway from the Q1 Meta Watch right now. I'm only half joking, of course, but Cassian comes in with 49% win rate there. 49 games with a 57% win rate. So Cassian managing to navigate the madness of First Contact very well, and Boss as well. 29 games, 52% win rate. So these guys are doing well. But again, it's just a smattering of different primary units playing on this mission. But yeah, fantastic to see that CT is top somewhere in the rankings right now. And that will draw the Q1 Meta Watch to a close. So my kind of final thoughts here. Obviously, I've tried to be impartial and tried to remain enthusiastic throughout this video, as I do with all my content. But when we do really look at the data in this format, and we see month after month Boss and Cassian dominating the meta, the fact that Cassian has played 660 games, and as we said, Luke only a tenth of that. Luke is the main protagonist in Star Wars. I mean, arguably Ahsoka can be as well, depending on a certain point of view. Guys, getting all the references in today. But the fact that Cassian is seeing so much more play and is so dominant in the meta, he really does need that balance, and we know that it is coming. So it will be interesting to see what happens through April with the April Meta Watch, because I think we will see the direction of the meta go one of two ways. Either we will carry very much going in a straight line with the Cassian and Boss lists featuring again and again and again, particularly as people prep for the first of the GTs. There's a GT in America, I believe, and there's a GT in the UK that are going to be happening before the balance update is released in May. So that's likely to see reps going into there in various tournament scenes. But what I hope to see through April, and we will only find this out when we look at the Meta Watch in April, will be that people start to experiment with different lists, different units, and get themselves in a really exciting place before the May 2026 balance update. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you want to see what the other units have been up to that I haven't talked about, particularly your Cassians, your bosses, your Leias, your hunters, etc., do check out the meta watches for January, February, and March. They are in my channel videos there as well. We just know what's going on with them at the moment. So yes, I didn't feel I needed to repeat myself in this video. But yes, if you've enjoyed the content, please leave a like, a subscribe, drop a comment, follow the channel. It would be great to get the channel growing. And I will see everyone tomorrow for a surprise Jedi Council interview. Bye for now.